How to use AI to market and scale your business.
All right, so are you ready? You're not ready. Come on, show some energy. Are you ready? All right, so one of the things I want to talk about is, of course, now we're in AI. First of all, I want to thank Amen and the incredible team for putting this incredible event on to really share with you some of the strategies that are really working in today's market. So can we give Amen and the entire Sigma group a massive round of applause? Send a massive round of applause. Come on. All right. So I'm going to talk about some of the great tools that we can use. Now, let me just ask you all a question. Raise your hand if you are a business owner. Can I see a show of hands if you're a business owner? Okay. And raise your hand if you are in the Web3 space. Web3 space, show of hands. Okay, good. So when Eamon asked me to come and do this talk, and he said, John, can you talk about some of the strategies? By the way, raise your hand if you've never heard me speak before. If you've never heard me speak before. One or two people. Or raise your hand no matter, like some of you will not raise your hand no matter what I say, yes? All right, cool. So let me talk about some of the things that are really working today and some of the things that can really help you market your business, and especially for those of you that want to raise a lot of money for your companies as well. So if you've never heard me speak before, I'm an investor in companies like Animoca, Kraken, Clubhouse, private investor, plus my co-founder here and my business partner from Silicon Valley, Tess, who's invested in over 400 companies and now has about 10 unicorns within that portfolio. So a part of what you're going to be learning in this session is how do you get and market your brand and also market using AI, because it's become a lot easier. So as I go through this presentation, I don't have that long. I want to share with you what really works and some of the tools that you can use so you can get started right away. But I'm going to need you to participate because it's quite loud out there. And so if I say, does that make sense? And some of you go, well, that doesn't quite make sense to me. Or if I say, does that make sense? You're like, well, and there's no reply, then for me, I think, well, maybe you didn't understand that, and I'll teach it again, and then we'll be here till midnight. So if I ask you a question, would I be willing to get some participation? Yes? Yes? Thank you. All right. So first tool, right? 𝐶𝐶𝐬𝐬.io. A lot of you right now, when you want to market your business, very simple. There's one rule, and the rule is this. Awareness times attention equals income. The more people that see you, the more people that consume you. But the problem is, a lot of you maybe don't want to put your face on camera. You don't want to create videos. You don't want to get the exposure. One of the reasons why Gary is so big now is because he's everywhere. Would you agree, yes or no? Yes. So if you have a startup, you want funding, you want to attract VCs, instead of you going to have to knock on the doors, this way you're going to get people knocking on your door. So why is 𝐶𝐶𝐬𝐬.io perfect for all of you? Because it's an AI avatar. So I can take your beautiful face, I can map you onto this gentleman's beautiful face, and then you'll be able to pitch each other's products. Imagine in the pitching session you had now, you can actually have an AI person do it for you. So that's why 𝐶𝐶𝐬𝐬.io allows you to put not your face on camera, but somebody else's face on camera. So the issue is, if you're pitching on stage now, you're trying to raise money, you're trying to do the next round, your pre-seed, your Series A, Series B, it's going to be very hard with a limited audience. But if you put something up which is not even you, but you're now getting 1 million people see it, do you think that's going to give you a lot more attention, yes or no? Yes, absolutely. So that's why 𝐶𝐶𝐬𝐬.io is one of the best marketing tools for you to put you and your business, or your Web3 business, or your ICO, your IDOs, to put those up there. That's how you create community. Because Web3 is all about community. You do a drop, you want a lot of people to adopt it, you need mass adoption. But some who are a little bit shy, oh, John, I don't want to be on camera. This is what you want to start thinking about, number one. Second, 11labs.io. This is voice cloning. So some of you might say, well, John, I don't like the sound of my voice. Literally, you speak, you synthesize it, and now you can clone a voice. So if I want to sound a little bit girly, I could take Dinah's voice, and I can write the script, and it would replay that script in her voice. And for example, if you look at all the emerging markets right now, it levels the playing field for everybody. Let's say you have someone in Asia that writes an email. They have different, dialects, that they say things differently. For example, in the UK, I'm from the UK, they'll say buy one, get one free. But if you're from Asia, they'll say buy one, free one, right? So you can tell based on how they've written something, where they're from. But now this changes the whole game. I can give myself an American accent. I can give myself a Scottish accent, right? So this is why it's so powerful, because when you're marketing your product, you have to be laser targeted. Basically geo-targeting. So if I'm marketing in Singapore, Malaysia, I might have a Singlish accent. If I'm marketing in the UK, I want to have a Harry Potter, a spot of tea, darling voice. So you can change a lot of that to adapt to the market. So 11labs.io is going to help you, especially ChatGPT-4 and you've got speech to text. You want to start localizing your marketing so you have better connection. All marketing is really getting the exposure so people can come and they can purchase things from you. So that's 11labs.io. Video.ai. Now, raise your hand if you consume a lot of social media. Raise your hand nice and high. Okay, now here's the thing. People spend more time on YouTube than they do watching TV. This thing that we wake up with in the morning, right? Alarm goes off. What happens? You wake up, your eyes are peeled, and you're like, snooze. And then what happens? You see, this thing is literally have you noticed your phone is more than 7 inches away from you? So why is video so important? Because video.ai will allow you to create a lot of content very fast, automatically. So for example, let's say this event is being filmed right now. So I have maybe half an hour on here. I can take that half an hour piece of content, dump it into video.ai, and it's going to spin out hundreds of pieces of content, all different. And one of the best ways to market your business right now is, of course, short form content. Would you agree, yes or no? You see, if you say to somebody, hey, go and watch a film for 10 hours, you probably wouldn't watch it. Or 3-4 hours sometimes. But how many of you have been scrolling through TikTok? It's like these 30-second, 40-second videos, and you look at your watch, and like 5 hours have gone by. Raise your hand if you can relate to this, right? So you know exactly what I'm talking about. So this is why I think it's such a powerful strategy that when you're using video.ai, a lot of you that don't have an editor, you don't have anyone creating content for you, you can literally put it in here, click a button, and now you've got 100 pieces of content, which can now be posted on social media. Is that pretty good, yes or no? Yes. It's going to save you a lot of time. Do you know to have an editor, like we would have a full-time editor, we pay them $20,000, $30,000 a year, and it would take time to be able to do it. Now I can do it in a click of a button. If you can copy, paste, drag and drop. Raise your hand if you can copy, paste, drag and drop. You qualify, right? So, video.ai. Next one, lately.ai. This is incredible. Social media messaging. How do you know? So I have a good friend of mine, and he gets billions of views. So the question is, how do you know? Because let's say you're all doing a drop. Let's say you have a product, you have a service, and you're looking to do a raise. Let's say all the incredible startups that are on stage right now. By the way, it takes a lot of courage to come on stage and pitch to investors, and it's quite intimidating. And I gotta say, guys, that's incredible effort. Can we give them a massive round of applause, by the way? Massive round of applause, come on. And I do like the Jade City as well. That's pretty, I'm Chinese, right? So, of course, I'm gonna like that. So, lately.ai will tell you what will go viral. You don't have to take a guess anymore. You can literally analyze, and it'll say, okay, this topic, this views, this content, it will basically hone the messaging for you. So you don't have to post a piece of content and spray and pray whether it goes viral or not. Now it's going to tell you because it's all data points. Data is the new currency. How we synthesize the data is where we end up in the future. The more data we have, the more informed decisions we can make. We don't want to hope that things happen. We want to be certain. What's the word? Certain. That's what we want. So, lately.ai will analyze your entire social media. It will find out all the posts that can go viral. And now you can have viral content and get a lot of exposure for free. Next, heyday and hootsuite.com. conversations into sales. So I invested in a platform a few years ago. It's called Mobile Monkey. And how many of you have been to one of these websites and it starts asking you questions? Raise your hand if you've ever dealt with that before. Like it asks you questions, right? So when we do conversations into sales, there's a saying in business that says the fortune is in the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. That means for most of you, if like you know the sales there, but the problem is either you don't have the manpower to do that, or if you don't have the manpower to do that, how do you systemize it for this to be done? That's why if you use something like Hey Day about 𝐒𝐭𝐲𝐬𝐬, you're literally gonna have full automation. Let's say I always like sneakers. Or let's say I always like holidays to the Maldives. It can analyze all the data points and literally spit out and say, hey, by the way, you're thinking of going on a holiday? Well, actually, yeah. How many of you have been to a dinner before? You put your phone on the table, you start talking about donuts, and lo and behold, you start scrolling through the social media platforms and you start seeing donuts. Raise your hand if that's ever happened to you before, right? This is all AI happening in the background, but now it's getting a level higher, right? It's not just about our interactions now, it's also our behaviors that are now changing. So if you want to grow your business, if you want to increase or triple your sales, if you want to raise money for your startup, start using stuff like this because you never know who's watching your content. You never know who's going to write that check. You never know who's going to say, oh, I saw you on YouTube and I heard your video and I heard your pitch. I want to take 20% of the company for this. Like, you just never know. This is why I want to encourage all of you to be able to do this, okay? Next, 𝐒𝐭𝐸.art. Now, this is great. Now, my background, I used to be an animator. I used to work for a company called EA Games. Anyone heard of EA Games? Yeah? Awesome. But the thing is, even though I'm okay at animating, I'm okay at drawing, it takes a long time to draw something. Plus, having not only creator's block, but animation block. So, 𝐒𝐭𝐸.art, so it basically draws things for you. So, for example, I asked it yesterday, I said, draw a car with wings. And this is what it came up with. Pretty awesome. You see, like, how do you know in the future you're not going to have something like that? Right? And obviously wing like a spoiler wing. But it's just interesting. This is why it takes out a lot of the thought process. So now, you see, here's the thing. Here's where your business is, and here's where your business needs to go. And there's a gap in between the middle. And a lot of that gap is the thinking time. And unfortunately, if your thinking time takes up a lot of the implementation and the how-to stuff, most people don't take action. It's procrastination. How many of you got a gym membership and you still be meaning to go to the gym? Show of hands, right? So it's the procrastination. This is why you want to start looking at ways you can actually start systemizing this, okay? Podcast.ai, right? Or Podcastle. So this is basically podcasting. How many of you have listened to podcasts on a regular basis? Raise your hand nice and high. Okay, so 2 years ago, I invested in a company called Clubhouse. How many heard of Clubhouse? So it's basically like a real-time podcasting type of tech, right? So you go on there, you talk, and people listen to you. But the thing is, let's say you're doing an interview with someone. Let's say there's a bang, and you're like, oh my God, what's that noise? Or you drop a piece of a glass, and you hear all this interference and noise. Sometimes if you go out there, you try and film a video, it's too noisy. So what this will do, it will clean up your audios, and it will basically chop them up into little pieces of content, and you can post it online. See, here's the thing. Awareness times attention equals income. The more people that see you, the more people are likely to buy from you. The more people are likely to get into a room with investors and VCs. The more likely you are to do those partnerships. You see, it's very, very frustrating getting into business and trying to do things in a way that you always feel like you're trying to push up this hill. We want to make it smooth. And in the Web3 and all the tech world right now, it's becoming frictionless. And this is what now it allows you all to do. It takes out all the grunt work. It takes out all the thinking. All you got to do is push a few buttons and bang, right? But you still have to do that. So Podcastle.ai will allow you to take all your podcasts and start to synthesize that and now get a lot of exposure where people can listen to you. Next, GoCharlie.ai. Turn all your articles all your content into articles. So right now we are, of course, in this transition. You have Google as search. Now, when, of course, ChatGPT came out, people only thought they could use it for transcribing content. But now people found a different use for it. And that use is, well, why don't I use it as a search engine? They want to be spoon-fed information. So 𝐃𝐨𝐬𝐧.AI will take all the content you put on there and turn it into articles. Why is articles so important? I have a friend of mine. She has one of the biggest travel companies and news. She gets 10 million impressions like every single month for free. And what she's done is she's basically ranking, because if you look at what's happening with ChatGPT now, I think it's great that it allows us all to create content fast, but Google will start de-ranking it because it can see whether it's AI written or not. Whereas if you're producing original content will get higher ranking. That's why her business is crushing it now. So with 𝐾𝐨𝐬𝐧, it's going to turn everything you put out there, turn them into articles so you can post it, and then put it as original content as well. So next one, soundroad.io, AI music. Any musicians in the room? Any musicians? So I'm not a musician, but let's say I wanted to write a song. I can go to this and say, okay, make it high tempo, make it a little bit relaxing, and then repeat these beats. And now I can go into here, I can create my own soundtracks now. So soundtracks, if you look at how, you've heard a lot of people talking about NFTs, tokenization. What if we could take a piece of content and have people own a piece of that content? Like you put a social media video up and someone can own a piece of that. Or someone writes a book, a digital version, and someone owns a piece of that, right? That's why you look at Instagram right now, they're allowing you to put your voice as an audio track. So if you go to Instagram, just type in John Lee, you'll see my account. The last video that I did, basically the soundtrack is John Lee, There's Another Way, right? So I can take that, I can synthesize that, and I can tokenize it, and then I can turn it into an NFT. I can do a one-of-one. So only one person can own that audio. You see how this works? You position it, you brand it, you get the awareness, you get the attention. All right, next, Signal. This one I'm hugely excited about. Let me give an example. How many of you have actually purchased NFTs before? Show of hands. How many purchased an NFT? And how many of you have paid a lot of money for an NFT before? Right? So actually my co-founder here is one of the investors in Yuga Labs, which is Bored Apes. She's actually here, Tess. She's incredible. She teaches me a lot of these strategies as well. But here's the thing. When you buy an NFT, what is the real value of that? How do you know how much it's worth? Just like when you buy a property. How do you know how much a property is worth? You don't. It's worth what someone is willing to pay for it. But what if there was a signal that you could dump all your information into it, and you could say this NFT, based on all the data points, based on all the wallet information, based on this, it's got 5 whales that have separate wallets that are now buying this. It's going to give a signal as to whether this is a big strategy, whether it's in demand. And here's what I found with this. When a lot of you right now are looking to get into something, there's actually no valuation software or very few valuation software where imagine you can drop an NFT. Like someone says, okay, this Bored Ape is $500,000. Okay, let's take that, drop it into Signal, analyze all the data points, and then it'll spit out a figure just like you would with a real piece of real estate. So this is what we call digital real estate. But because there's so much digital real estate, that's why you see a lot of companies pump, dump. How many of you have seen that before? They do an ICO, it goes up, and then bang, it crashes. Do you know why that happens? Number 1, there's no real utility. 2, the community is not supporting it. 3, there is no market maker to hold that up. That's why you need to have a system to when you put it in there, you go, actually, based on all these things that's out there, it will give you a specific figure. So with Signal, it's really about knowing when you go into something, actually, is it worth what I'm buying? I just literally had someone message me, say, oh, John, we got this property for sale in central Malaysia. And she said to me, this is a motivated seller. And by the way, as we move into the recession, as we move into the rest of this year, you're going to see some ups and downs, right? You've probably heard about the banks over the last couple of days. So when news like that happens, it affects markets. So when the price of something that was at $1 million yesterday is very different today depending on the news. Agree, yes or no? What if you could get all of those signals before that happens? What if you knew that in 2020, when everyone was locked at home, there were signals that told you when to get in and out of the market? Raise your hand if you think that would be pretty good information. Raise your hand. Say yes. Yeah, right? This is why I'm going to tell you all this stuff. You know, a billionaire friend of mine told me, and by the way, I'm not giving financial advice here. He told me, he said, John, I've never lost money in the market. I said, that's BS. Everyone loses money in the market. And he said, no. And what he was telling me, he was saying, well, there are certain signals, right? And by the way, I'm not going to give you financial advice, but don't take my word for it. Back test this later after Gary's finished on stage, right? He says, when you enter in the market, you do a 90-day high and you get out of the market a 30-day low. And when I back tested, I thought, wow, that's why he never loses money. But that's too manual, right? You don't want to sit by your computer every day and do that. But if there are certain signals and there are certain patterns in place, it's going to give you the forward information before it even happens. These are, and as a lot of you know, indicators. But this is backed by data and backed by wallets. So if you can get into someone's wallet, does that tell you a lot of information? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes, absolutely. Okay? So that is signal. Next one, of course, OpenAI, ChatGPT. So a lot of you, how many of you are already using this? Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much on this because a lot of you already know what this is. But I'm going to give you a few ways to market your company by using ChatGPT, right? Especially for those of you who want to do some side hustles and things like that. So one of the things you can do, if you want to make some extra money, is you would go to somebody's website, look at all the content on there, take it, put it into ChatGPT and say, improve it. And then you send it back to the company and say, hey, by the way, I just improved your content. I thought that the last one wasn't so great. Here's the updated version. The guy goes, oh my God, that's amazing. Can I hire you? So that's one way you can do it. Second thing, emails. You should be sending emails on a regular basis. Why? How many of you have been shopping before? You had no intention of buying anything, but yet you came home with bags of shopping. Raise your hand if you've ever done that before. Yeah, me too. I've done that as well. So it's getting people back to your shop, back to your business in order for you to start monetizing. When people browse, people buy. So that's why this, if you don't, I'm the same. I spent 20 years learning all these different copywriting strategies. But actually, now you can put in there, say, write me an email on why people need to use AI. Write me an email on this. And you can do this for the people. But actually, you should be doing it for your own business as well. So using great softwares out there, there's some great CRM AI systems now that can go into your systems and find out all the data and start sending emails to tailored marketing. Let me tell you how the market's changing. Do you agree every single person in this room is at different stages of their life? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yeah. But the problem is a lot of businesses treat people as one thing. Right? Let's say you're already a unicorn. Your needs are very different to other people's. So when you're doing ChatGPT, you want to combine that with CRM AI, and now that can do the marketing for you. If you're already a unicorn, okay, great. Here's how you get more traction. Here's how you do the second rounds. Here's how pre-IPO stage, like you want to get to that stage. Or if you're just a startup, okay, like I saw a lot of decks on there, right? And actually, some of the decks were incredible. Some need some work. Having specific things like who's on your team, right? Your projections. Getting to a point where you are having the AI do all the lifting out and floating all your sales to the top. That's actually the position you want to be in. So with ChatGPT, that's another way. Also, translation. So about 7 years ago, I got the privilege and honor of sharing this stage with Randy Zuckerberg. And we were backstage. He said, John, we're no longer living in a local market. We live in a global market. Would you agree, yes or no? So if we live in a global market, we can take all the things that we do in our business, stick it into ChatGPT 3 and say, translate this to Chinese. So now you're hitting a different market. Translate this to Italian. Translate this to Spanish. So now we are hitting multiple markets simultaneously at the same time. So if you're not already doing this, in the past it would cost you a fortune to do this. Now, you can do this in a few clicks. Are you excited, by the way? Are you excited? You should be excited. It's never become easier than ever to do this. Of course, it's simple, but it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. All right? Next, networking. This one is incredible. Networking. Okay, so I was chatting to Eamon. And Eamon was like, I said, how many people are here? He said, 20,000 people. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of you are here at this event because you also want to meet some people as well? Show of hands. Okay, what's the problem? There's 20,000 people here. How are you going to meet with 20,000 people? Not only that, how many of you are also here who have a project, you have a startup, and maybe you're looking to raise some money? Raise your hand. Right? So the issue with that is you don't know who you're talking to. Also, when you come to an event, there's so many people, it's like, I feel a bit of anxiety, like you're having a conversation. Should I chat to you? Like, there's no real data that you can use to maximize the entire process. What if I said to you, with networking, you can literally say, okay, I'm in this room, I'm in the main stage room here in Festival Arena. Click one button and find me all the startups. Even better, find all the startups with Ivy League background. Find all the startups with exited entrepreneurs on their board of advisors. Do you think that would be very valuable information to have? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. This is what I'm talking about. You need to have the data to be able to follow through. What if I could click a button and say, hey, by the way, show me all the people because here's the thing, everything moves in trends, everything moves with data points. There are certain things that happen. It's like if you look at, when I go, driving, here in Dubai, there's traffic light systems. Red, I stop. Amber, I'm about to go. Green, I go. What if there was a system, networking, where you could literally click a few buttons and say, okay, based on all these characteristics, because typically, and this is what Tess was telling me as well, it's like 70% of a lot of unicorns come out of Stanford, right? And there are certain things that happen, right? There are certain people there are certain characteristics that have to be present in order for them to become unicorns, right? Some you get outliers, of course, but there are certain data points by the people you meet, by the people they hang around. So if I could click a button and say, find all unicorn potential and set up a meeting with that person, would that be useful, yes or no? Yeah. Or VCs, hey, I want to find all VCs in this room that specifically do Web 3, not Web 2, not Web 2.5. This is information that you guys need, and this is something that's going to help you systemize that process. When you meet somebody, how many of you meet a lot of people here, you add them to WhatsApp, they message you like, who's this person messaging me? Or the person introduced themselves, you shake their hand, you forget their name the moment you shake their hand. Right? It's not a way, it's not strategic. You got to have strategic ways to be able to hone the contacts, categorize, and say, okay, I'm going to be in Singapore. Drop a pin in this hotel and find all the people in Web3, in AI, and come do a meeting with me. Bang, one shot. Right? It will synthesize the information, organize it, and now you leverage your ability to keep going. Does this make sense, by the way? Yes or no? It's pretty powerful, right? All right, next. Final thoughts. One thing I want to say to all of you is there are so many different things you can do, so many different ways to market your business, so many softwares, but you kind of think about it, you go, oh yeah, that's nice. And then you don't really follow through. So as my final thoughts to a lot of you, I really want you to start understanding, number one, what way are you going to implement all the things you learn? Because there's so much information. And actually, sometimes, how many of you feel a little bit overwhelmed, by the way? You feel a little bit overwhelmed, right? And it's not your fault. It's just the way that it's just processing all the information. So for me, I always think about taking all these things and just implementing it straight away. Because you just never know what's going to happen. Like, for example, there's another piece of software called 𝐉.io, right? 𝐉 will take all your videos, put subtitles on there, right? It will even find, based on the curve, something called a retention curve. So you cut out that retention where it's the highest engagement, turn a piece of content, put it on social. So there's just so many different things you can do. And for me, I always say that the difference between people who are successful and unsuccessful are the ones that implement things fast, are the ones that take and being humble about it as well. Not thinking like you not know everything. I've got so much to learn. That's why I come to these events. That's why I fly halfway around the world to be here, because as I'm listening to incredible projects like, you know, the one that interested me was Jade City. I thought, wow, interesting. But there's just so many different ways. It's not about what you do, it's how you do something. Sometimes about first mover advantage or last mover advantage. But you've got to take the things that are working and double down on it until it stops working. It's the evolution. It's not the strongest or the most intelligent species that survive. It's the most adaptable species that survive. That's why, for me and Tess, I said to Tess, I said, look, fly over from Silicon Valley, come join me, you know, speaking to incredible people, because one of the things I look to do is I love to find incredible projects to invest in. Right? I mean, Test Ventures now is in like over 400 companies. Half of those in Web 2 and the other half is in Web 3. So we've got to make sure that finding people, connect with them, and build a deep relationship. Right? Sometimes I find when I come to Dubai, it's like, hi, bye, hi, bye, hi, bye. How many of you have also experienced this before yourself? Show of hands. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Deepen the relationship. Find out, get the team. Have a strong team. Right? Make sure you've got all the elements on there, your projections. Right? Make sure you know your valuation. Make sure when someone's asking you what chain you're building on that you know. Make your competitor analysis. Right? So we're now living in a world where a lot of us now can really make sure that we can take it to the next level, but you must commit. There's no point in sitting there and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty cool. Oh, wow, that's amazing. No. Make sure that you take it, implement it. Even if it's not you doing it, get your team to implement it for you. Speed of implementation. And by the way, if you've got any questions, I'll probably be around here a little bit later. But if you've got any questions, you can drop me an email as well. Just go to johnlee.com. Got any questions? If you've got good projects, I would love to explore that, how we can help you take it to the next level and really help you get the funding, have the right debt, open the doors. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you got a lot of value from this. Have an amazing time. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to go for a round of questions?
Yes, go for it. Yeah.
If anybody has any questions. Are you taking picture or raising your hand? Oh, yes, can see you. Okay, I think we have a couple of minutes. It's a long way. Wow, hi.
Hello.
Thank you for the presentation. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's clap again, guys. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's really cool. I'm new to this startup game. I used to work in corporate, and now I'm like doing digital marketing for several startups.
Can you just hold your mic up like this? Okay.
Yeah, sure. So now I'm doing digital marketing for several health tech startups, and I was just wondering, how do you decide on, investing in, like pre-seed rounds? Like, for example, do you look at the personality of the investor first, or do you look at the traction numbers?
Well, it's interesting because we actually run a accelerator in Silicon Valley, and do you know the main thing? Basically, there's a slide template, and if you message me, I can send it to you. But it's basically a slide template. I've actually got it on my phone, right? So write this down. These are the elements you need on your deck. 1, problem and pain point you're solving. 2, value proposition. 3, your market size. 4, which is the most important, the team. So for example, one of the companies I just invested in, one of the reasons why I invested in it, the co-founder just exited and sold to Salesforce for $100 million. So I know the team can do fundraising. I know the team went Series A, Series B, Series C, and so on and so forth. 5, right? You got to know your structures. 6, revenue model. 7, traction. What tractions you got? 8, projections. And the projections, a lot of people show the best case scenario, show the worst case scenario, right? 9, the use of funds. That's why you heard a lot of the investors talk about, what you're going to use the funds on, right? And then also, you need to explain how you're going to be implementing that. But actually, out of it, and this is something I learned from Tess, and she, through the hundreds of companies we've invested in, the main thing that stands out is who's on the team, right? Good engineers. That's why you got to nurture the young generation, right? Look at the 15-year-olds. Look at the 12-year-olds in robotics. Look at what they're doing. So when you see who's on that team, and actually the question is, have any of these people on this team exited? Have any of these people on this team done fundraising? If so, how much have they raised? Because like when you're doing a lot of tech, there's a burn rate, right? So if you get up that burn rate, and that burn rate and that's why a lot of companies go bust, because it's cash flow. This is why I always recommend that you got to have assets. Business creates cash flow, assets create wealth. So actually get really strong on the team, because the credibility of the team, because the question Tess and I was thinking about is this: you show me the deck, and I see all these people presenting on stage. What do you think the number one question in my mind is? Can this team execute and deploy? If the answer is yes, I'm investing. This is why one of the reasons I'm in Dubai and I fly around the world is I get to meet incredible people. They come to our hotel, we have dinner meetings. Actually, a lot of the checks that we write is over a coffee. So if you got a good deck, come see me afterwards. We'll set up a few meetings and hopefully get, I can't promise that, but we can explore that. And the first thing I'm going to ask you is, show me your deck. Got it? Give her a hand. Very good question. Give her a hand. Very good. All right.
Thank you. John, first thing, love your energy on stage. You're fantastic. So I'm from Kryptonite UAE. We are the official media partners of the event. And since you have this amazing and humongous following on social media and this influence that you have, my question to you is that what would you do differently if you had to start with perhaps 0 followers in the age of AI?
So here's the thing, all the stuff that I did up till, I would say 2 years ago, I was still manually doing. Even I've got a team of people, right? I've got EAs, VAs, they manage to go into my social media, they post. That's great. Issue is, it's very time consuming, right? Now the good news is, all the things I just mentioned, by the way, if you go to my website, johnlee.com, go to resources, I've got the list, because if you didn't get the list, it's all on there, right? And some ones I didn't add there, but I'll add more on there. But if I could turn back time, honestly, it's all about collaboration. You see, it's not about how many people follow you now, because all of you can put a video on YouTube or TikTok, and you can get a million views like that. So that's why you got to keep posting until you pop. So if I could turn back time, I would have put out way more, and I've got to thank Gary for this, because I watched one of his pieces of content, and he was like, just keep posting, but this video only had 10 views. Doesn't matter, because now you have delayed explosion, my friends. Delayed explosion means I watch a video for and by the way, if you look at any video that goes viral, and I analyze some data points on this, a friend said to me, John, how come all my videos have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 views, and this one has 7 million? And I said to him, I bet you, without even looking at the video, the first 3 seconds, there is movement in the camera. And sure enough, when I looked at it, there was this panning shot moving up to him. Because the first 3 seconds will determine whether your video gets shown or not shown. And people watch it, and you do it again and again and again. That's why if you gamify the content, like engagement, likes, comments, shares, real ones. If you use things like Mobile Monkey or Instachamp, you can do something called a comment guard. So I can get everybody in this room right now to go on my post and say, so if you go to my Instagram, type in John Lee and just comment AIBC, for example, I can trigger, if I should do that actually, I can trigger a list that will automatically send you a DM. But what I'm doing is I'm driving gamification through comment guarding. So there's a lot of different things. You can also do things like live. When you go live on Instagram, go live with other people, bring them in. Use a comment guard during your live to automatically elicit DM automation. Because when you do that, guess what? You're now getting people engaged, and Instagram goes, wow, these people love this. But you can do that on all the platforms, but you just never know what platform you're going to blow up on. So I have this formula called Fly GTI. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google, Twitter, Instagram. And of course, I recommend you still all should use a lot of social audio. You can systemize that now. There's something called Club Deck. Club Deck will take your podcast and it can replay it into any social audio room like you're live, but you're not live. Right? Club Deck. Right? If you go to my website, I'll put it up there. I'll send me an email, I'll send it to you. Yeah? So that's really powerful. Also, streaming software. Now we talk about AI marketing. You've now got Omni Live streaming. Right? Omni Live streams. I could take this one piece of content, direct to camera, and I can take that 30 minutes and replay it. That's why TikTok now, they've got TikTok Studio. So you can take this presentation and replay it for 24 hours and just keep switching it up. So as AI becomes bigger, you're going to get simultaneous versions where I can do a live event like this, insert something in, see whether the content is good, whether the watch time is good. If it's not, switch to something else and keep showing things to people that are relevant. That's why in today's market, it's not a blanket, fit. It's basically, I meet you where you're at right now. Just like Netflix. You look at Netflix, when you watch a show, you start seeing more of the things that you watch. Like when I log into my wife's account, there's lots of Chinese, Korean films. She loves all the zombie stuff. I don't know why, it's weird, right? But for me, I love a lot of the sci-fi stuff, Marvel superhero stuff, right? I'm geeky that way. So you got to, the AI with the content will now meet you where you're at. Make sense? Good job. Give him a hand, give him a hand. Give him a hand. Good question.
John.
All right.
One more last question. One more last question.
Last question?
Okay.
It's got a last question.
Just the mic is not really working there.
No last questions?
Oh, that's weird.
Any questions going
Yeah.
once?
Hey, John.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
I'm here with my guy,
So
Adir.
could you put the mic up to you?
Yeah, you can hear me well now. I'm here with Adir. He's on the cover of magazine blog this year. He's a founder. As you said that you are looking for founders who already had exit, right? They have proven track record. What suggestion or for the founders who are trying it for the first time? What are the metrics, like their social media engagements or other things? Like how they can prove their capability?
So if I understand the question is, what determines whether I invest in a company? Is that the question?
The capability of the founders. The capability of the founders.
Or the capability of the founders. Yeah. The main thing is execution. Like if you go to someone's LinkedIn, right, and you look at all the companies, like they might have started working for this company, Google, Facebook, then they went to Stanford, then they do, it's not always the case, but again, there are patterns. That's why networking is so important. Because if you look at that, I don't have to scroll through 1 million LinkedIn accounts and click one button. Here's a criteria, go and find them, right? I know there are similar things out there, but if you add an element of AI to it, like let's say you're a big picture thinker, right? And I'm a detail person. How I pitch you on big picture is very different to how you pitch me on details. Details, I want to know projections. I want to know your market size. I want all those details. Big picture is, okay, how's it going to change the world? How disruptive is it? So based on networking, if I can find that information, next time I pitch you, I tailor the deck to the investor that I'm pitching. If the picture, like for a lot of stuff that we do is also female-led as well. So that's why I know Rosie, if she's still in here, I definitely need to speak to you. But you want to tailor that to the person that you're pitching because it's to their communication. It's like a love language. Like, my wife, I say, how does my wife know that she loves me? I say, honey, I love you, honey, I love you. That's my love language, cuddles, cuddles. But for her, it's like, honey, can you go and change the light bulb? Can you take the garbage out? That's her love language, is acts. So that's why all of you are pitching using one pitch deck, really bad. You need to have about 20 to 30 different variations of it, depending on who you're speaking to. So listen, thank you so much. If you've got any questions, come and see me a little bit later. I'm going to be around. But thank you so much. Give yourself a massive round of applause.
Hey, thank you, John. Fantastic. Bravo. Congratulations. Thank you.